Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video today. My guest at this time is quite possibly one of the most flamboyant characters in Ring of Honor history. He is a former Ring of Honor world champion, and he's here with me today. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the king of the peacocks, Dalton Castle. Dalton, welcome to the channel.
Wow, I didn't know I was the lead of a monarchy. Congratulations to me for making my way up the governmental ladder.
So now the day we were recording this, Dalton, it is Cinco de Mayo. It is May 5th.
Hey, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo to you too. Are you celebrating? Getting some tacos? How are you celebrating this one, Dalton?
I'm drinking water that I had imported from Mexico City. I don't know what it's going to do to my bowels, but I'm excited to see.
Oh, well, you're in for an interesting night. So
it's tap water.
Oh, okay. So now what have you been doing, Dalton, Cinco de Mayo or otherwise? What have you been doing to try and stay sane during these uncertain times? Like, what are you reading? What are you watching? You listening to Yacht Rock? Any Christopher Cross in your playlist?
No, because I don't like to tear up. So I haven't been playing Christopher Cross often. Sometimes I feel the need to, and it gets exciting. Then I just listened to the weird silence of the outdoors. You know what I did, Brian? I bought bird seed for the birds outside. That's not something a man in his 30s should be doing just yet, but that's where I am. Most people are sitting at home wondering how they're going to pay rent. They're just wondering how they're going to deal with passing the time. And here I am feeding birds.
Well, there's worse ways to pass the time, I guess. Are they biting? Or are birds coming to your bird feeders?
Got a couple cardinals. Got a couple blue jays. There's a bunch of robins out there. I don't know what they're up to, but I feel like they're up to something scandalous. The way they dress with their fancy breast all hanging out in orange.
You can't trust those birds, man. They're shifty eyes. So I guess what I want to know is, how are you dealing with the ROH cancellations? You know, it started, the cancellations started back during the 18th anniversary weekend, and they just announced this past weekend it's going to continue on through June. That means 2 Texas dates and Best in the World in Baltimore aren't happening. How are you holding up on this hiatus?
Well, the good thing is Ring of Honor has, first off, done everything to take care of us. And I've never been more grateful to be a part of a company that has looked after our safety and our well-being first. And it's exciting to know that that's the kind of company that I work for. As far as not performing, it's not the best. I mean, I hate not going on the road. It's my favorite part about being a pro wrestler, is traveling and getting to meet people and see things. And I love a live audience. I love to perform in front of them. The fortunate thing is there's so much more going on in the world where, missing all that stuff, I'm distracted by the other events in the world. So I don't really have time to sit and sorrow about how I don't get to go out there and pretend fight people in my underpants. Instead, I just kind of take each day as it is. Some days I'm super motivated. I like being home alone, and I get all excited to go work out. The weather's kind of nice now, so I go running, and I lift with my Bulgarian bag spinning around my head. And then other days, Brian, I just sit there and stare at the wall and don't feel like being funny.
We've all been there for sure. Now, I guess one thing I would say, I would have to guess, is that the time off from the ring has probably helped out with any kind of nagging injuries. I know you've been working with a bad back for a long time, starting back when you were world champion. How's it feeling now, especially with time away from the ring?
Well, it's strained. I got the whole weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm gonna pull us out of this. All right, it's gonna be me and me alone. And I feel like my back is strong enough to do it. I don't really know how the injuries are healing. I assume I feel good. And I think that is because I'm not testing out things. I'm not falling down as much. I'm not picking as many people up. And I'm not sitting in airplanes for as long. So I feel great right now. And if we were to get in the ring tomorrow, you would see a real high energy Dalton Castle. Probably doing some moves you haven't seen in a long time. So I guess the real test would be once I start getting in the ring again.
Would you say you changed your style up at all? Like once the back injury started, like how would you say you've changed a bit in the ring?
I stopped deadlifting people off their bellies as much. I've come to realize once they're down, That's where I wanted them to begin with, so no reason to pick them back up. That's the main thing. Doing unnecessary power lifts. Yeah, I'm strong, but I'm also smart. I've trained for over 2/3 of my life as a wrestler, so I know where to put my hips and how to move people's momentum to my advantage, so I don't have to lift as heavy.
All right, let's talk about that, because I know in doing my research, I saw that you have extensive experience as an amateur wrestler from when you were a kid through college.
Yeah, you want to go? I'll put my ear guards on right now.
No, thank you. Bum knee is what I'm dealing with right now. But I gotta ask you, when you were doing amateur wrestling, did you kind of have it with the goal in mind of becoming a professional wrestler and using that as kind of like a foundation, or did it come to you like during?
Never.
No.
I wanted to continue amateur wrestling for as long as I could. I wanted to wrestle. I wanted to be an NCAA champion. I never did that. I did go to the nationals. I then won a state title in Greco. I wanted to. I don't wanted to do all that kind of stuff. But then when college ends, there's no money in amateur wrestling, so it's a little hard to continue. I wrestled a few years past, but it wasn't until my friends who were already pro wrestlers. Here's where I have a very fortunate upbringing. When I was about 15 or 14, my best friends were training to be pro wrestlers, and I was an amateur wrestler. So anytime I wasn't on the road at a tournament or something, I would hop in a car and travel with them to weird independent shows. And just through osmosis, almost for like 7 years before I even stepped in a wrestling ring, I had already been hanging out in locker rooms and traveling with all these guys.
Was there a stigma when you started making that transition from amateur wrestling to pros? Like, did you have any kind of like friends from the amateur days who kind of like looked down on the pro wrestling stuff? Because in my very, 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 very limited experience in amateur wrestling from high school, that's the vibe I got, was like, ooh, boo pro wrestling. Like, what was the experience like with some of the people in your amateur circle when you made that transition?
Most of my friends loved it. I remember in college we would watch wrestling on TV together. So, and some of them were kind of merged my friend circles together. My college teammates became friends with my pro wrestling friends, so we would go to shows together. So I didn't feel like anybody was looking down on me on it.
From what I've seen from your work, you're such a entertainer. You're very much of a showboat. Did you have like theater experience before you did did wrestling? Because I know you were a DJ, and so you have experience on the microphone. But like, did you have an actual like theater experience before this?
Yeah, I graduated with a broadcast degree and a minor in theater, and I spent a lot of classes. I did a lot of improv classes, a lot of classical theater classes. Most of the school courses I took in college, it required me to lay on my back in the dark and practice breathing for about a half hour before we did anything. So, real hard schoolwork.
Now, you've spent the bulk of your wrestling career doing these, kind of embracing the lighter side of things, more of the showboating and the characters. You were Ashley Remington in Chikara. You're Dalton Castle now, the whole kit and caboodle that goes with that. What is it that you like about that side of the wrestling character spectrum over the more like serious styles and characters that kind of come along with the territory?
I think serious style wrestlers are dumb, because I know all those guys and they are not tough. And I, being someone who can really wrestle, I know what it's like to be in a real competition and work hard and get your face broken or get knocked out. And I want to entertain. So to see somebody to pretend to do what they think looks tough or what they think is a real shoot fighter, and they've got no training or background in that, it's so funny to me. But what I like is I like the characters that I get to play because they interest me. Those are what I would want to watch on TV. Those are what I would want to see on stage. So if I'm not doing something that I believe in, I'm not going to be good at it.
I think what makes the Dalton Castle character so great is the flamboyance, the showmanship, the outfits. I'm always blown away by your entrance attire. Who makes that? Do you make that stuff, or do you know somebody? Like, who's your hookup?
I'm always blown away at your casual outfits during interviews. Again, I thought this was a formal event. I thought we were dressing up for this. We were going to treat ourselves with a little bit of respect, and here you are, lavalier pulling down your crew neck, making an oblong V-neck. I can see a little chest hair in there. You got a bit of a tan line. You should get some more vitamin D, Brian.
Thank you. Duly noted.
I am the luckiest human. All right, so the first couple, Closet Champion was the first people to take on the jumpsuit, and they did a great job. And then I utilized my family hookup, where I've got an aunt who's a very talented artist, who she offered to start making my outfits. And she's kind of my at my calling. Whenever I need it, she gets it done whenever I need it, and we collaborate together. The trunks that I wear, I married a woman who knows how to make those, and she's not allowed to make them for anybody else but me. So I've struck gold when it comes to outfitting myself.
That's pretty awesome. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Who, besides yourself, who has the best look and the best fashion sense in all of wrestling?
I loved Macho Man's. Like, there was no rules, kinda. He just, whatever was shiny, he would put it on. At one point, he wore a cowboy hat a lot. Remember cowboy hat Macho Man?
He got neon cowboy hats over. That's how special Macho Man was.
I think what's happened is the quality of clothing or costuming has advanced so much because the material is more readily available. Like, everyone's got sequins and shiny stuff. Or now one of the nice things I see is the stretchy denim look, like what Bray Wyatt wears and stuff. It looks dirty and grimy, but I'm like, I bet that smells like lemons.
One thing that you mentioned at the top of this interview about how you miss the travel for going to shows for Ring of Honor, and that's something I've really missed too. I think one of the things I've enjoyed...
We've traveled together. You've been in my car.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. I'd say that, just sampling the local flavor, like between the towns, I think is really interesting. And I have to say, Paducah, Kentucky, I think it changed me as a human being, driving through Paducah and just seeing the sights. We stopped at like a diner and we just looked in there and we turned right around because this was not our scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember.
Yeah,
what was with that town? Everything was like a lunch buffet.
Paducah, Kentucky, lunch buffet capital of America.
I'm not saying this is the wrong business model, but it was weird that the town, they didn't have normal restaurants. There was like everything you walk in, it was like you're in somebody's living room eating out of a steam tray.
No disrespect to Ricochet, who's from Paducah, but that was just an interesting town.
Maybe there's something to it. If you eat out of like those style of restaurants, then you get super jacked and you can do a bunch of flips. Why didn't we eat there, Brian?
I know, we should have eaten at the weird cafeteria place. But that's that moment of like walking into the restaurant and seeing all the heads turn and like all these muscular guys, not including myself, but like all these people, these wrestlers coming in there. Like, what do you do with that attention? Do you try and like just kind of play it low key? Do you play it up? Like, what's your usual kind of response when you kind of go into a small town place like that?
Usually what I do is if I ever get the stink eye slow head turn, I walk right over to the jukebox, put a quarter in, I hit G7, and then I start a fight. I break every stool in the building. I block punches. I headbutt noses. If I can get a guy who's light enough to get up on a bar, I'll slide him down and smash in every glass along the way. And usually ends with a spin kick to the chest and somebody going through the front window. Sometimes it's me because I miss the kick and I fly out the window instead of hitting somebody. But yeah, that's how I handle that. So if you ever see me walk into a restaurant, finish your meal quick.
And just to make sure you press G7 and not G8. Speaking of your travels, there's...
If you like pina coladas.
Yes, we got the reference together. Speaking of travels, this is a story I heard recently that got some traction. And I'd like you to corroborate this story with me because I heard that you were in a group with Matt Taven where you went to the Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park, which, for those of you who have Netflix accounts, probably knows the site of where the Tiger King lives, Joe Exotic. So yeah, I heard the story that you guys were accused of being spies. Can you tell us more about that, your side of the story?
We didn't know. We didn't know where we were going. All right, we're just driving from Dallas to Oklahoma City, and we're passing all these billboards that just have big tiger faces on it and says, "This exit." I love cats. What am I going to not stop? Of course I'm going there. We got time. So we forced Jay Lethal, who I'm pretty sure didn't want to stop, but he wasn't driving, so he doesn't get a vote. And then we pull in. It didn't seem terrible to the first sight. So we knew it weren't in a terrible place, or we thought. And then we went in. We were paying. Mentioned where we were all from. Lethal said Tampa. I remember them getting real irate about it and bringing up. I don't know if they said Carol Baskin's name or not, but they didn't like the fact that Lethal was from Tampa. Then we paid our admission. I think we had 25 minutes to get in and out. Went and saw a bunch of tigers who, I don't know. I didn't know we were supporting a monster. It was an accident. Nobody punched a tiger in the face while we were there, which I'm glad I didn't see that. I wouldn't know how to handle it.
So no one detained you. There was no armed security.
Where do you think we went? Detained us?
I don't know.
Zoo.
If they thought you were
poorly run zoo.
When I hear that you guys were accused of being spies for Carol Baskin, I assume that at least someone tried to come down on you guys. I can't imagine Joe Exotic himself came to confront you. But did you meet him, by the way? Was Joe Exotic there? Did you see him?
No, I don't know if he still owned it at that point. I do know there was a sign with his picture on it where I thought he was dead. I was like, oh, I remember that guy from Tosh.0. He must have got eaten by a tiger. And that's the story I went with until I listened to a podcast a couple years later. He didn't get eaten by a tiger, right? He's still alive?
As of press time, no, he has not been eaten by a tiger. But you know what? Someone could watch this video 3 years from now and a lot could change. But I guess let's move back to the wrestling aspect of things. As I alluded to earlier, former Ring of Honor World Champion, you beat Cody at Final Battle in 2017 to win it. Talk to me about,
I beat him.
You did?
I beat him real good.
You beat him fair and true. What would you say, what kind of emotions went through your head that whole night, the night when the bell rang, you won the championship? What was going through your head that time?
A lot. It was one of the craziest days of my life. Weeks leading into it, you think something's happening, and you don't really put all your eggs in one basket in pro wrestling because anything can happen and everything's can be changed, especially last minute. I had a big entrance planned, and I had sent blueprints weeks in advance, and I was working on getting everything. Oh, by the way, anything you see that I do entrance wise, the majority of it was done by this guy on his living room floor or in the hotel room floor. I had a couple people helping me build stuff, and I show up and it wasn't built yet. So that was nice. It really set me at ease. So they're building the platforms I'm supposed to be wheeled out on. Day of, I have to go do an interview at SiriusXM. I had to recruit people to be a part of the entrance, and then we had to do all the blocking. It was just a whirlwind of craziness moving all over. I don't think I filmed that day. I filmed other shows like the Madison Square Garden one. That kind of gives you a little behind the scenes look of what kind of panic attacks I am experiencing on big shows. And it's nothing to do with the wrestling. It has everything to do with just the entrance.
That's a more important thing. I think most people tune out after the entrances. It's like, wrestling. Yeah, who wants to let's watch the lights.
Who's watching these shows for the matches?
Exactly. Besides winning the title, what would you say was like your best memory as champion? Any particular opponent or match or crowd that really like kind of stays with you years after the fact?
Supercard of Honor with Marty Scurll in New Orleans. It was a real test. I remember the pain from my broken back was just starting to come back and get worse. It started like shifting to the hip, where I had no idea. I had some nerve impingement that was going down my hip, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So I just kept trying to stretch it. Turns out it was just because my back was moved. But it was a real test to myself that day, because I felt doubt from a lot of people being in that role. There was a lot of people on the roster that didn't trust me as the champion or didn't see me as the face of the company. And that night in particular, there was a lot of debate on if Marty and I should go on last. And I never once feared going on in the main event. I trust myself. I know myself as a performer, and I knew you put me in any situation, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to succeed. And Marty was, he's a great performer, and he was the perfect opponent for me that night. So I trusted the two of us, and it just kept, like weeks leading into it, it kept going back and forth on where we are on the card. And then when it was settled, there was still doubt and people upset about it, which just lit a fire inside me and made me real upset because now it's my turn to prove them all wrong and stuff it down their throats and shut people up with my performance. So going out there with Marty, I was proud of what we did. I was proud of the effort we put forth, and I feel like we pulled it off. I go back and watch it, and I'm still happy with it. I knew the amount of pain I was in walking in there, and to know what I was fighting through internally and still putting on the performance that we did. You doubt that I can't be on the top of the card? You don't think I should be in the main event? F you. This is my house, and I am going to go out there and show you why I belong there, why I belong in the posters, why my name should be on top.
You mentioned about proving people wrong. Do you feel like you've had to do that a lot in your career?
More often than not, I think people look at me and they see a novelty and they see a shiny dancer, but they forget that underneath it all, I'm a real wrestler. I'm a very dangerous human being, and I know what I'm doing out there. It just happens to be that not only am I a great physical athlete, but I'm also freaking fantastic at entertaining. So I think a lot of people get blinded by the colors before they see the talent behind it.
So Dalton, for you, 2019 was a bit of an up and down year. At Madison Square Garden, you lost to ROH in pretty quick fashion. You briefly abandoned the boys, but now I know you guys are back together, you and the boys are. And recently, near the end of the year, you started a partnership with Joe Hendry, who I know you guys were kind of at odds at first, but now you have this partnership. You were finally picking up some steam before the break. What's it been like teaming with Joe Hendry? How's that dynamic been working for you?
Well, I just want to correct you real quick. I'm not back with the boys. I fired two boys, Brent and Brandon, who were boys prime. They had hit the bricks. They weren't carrying their weight, and they are clearly, and I still think they're the cause of Roosh getting the upper hand on me in MSG. I've come to terms and I've calmed down. I haven't welcomed them back, but I do have boys. I got boys all over the world. I'm the lord of the boys. It's not like I can go to a town and there's not going to be boys there for me. There's going to be boys. And now, and when I come to town, there's not just boys. I got a fantastic tag partner with me. We're talking about Joe Hendry. Is that what you wanted to get into?
Yes, that was the tail end of the question, was Joe Hendry.
I think it's going great. I mean, it's disappointing that we live a whole ocean apart, that during this time when we're in a break, we haven't been collaborating or talking as much. We direct message back and forth. and we've been talking, but it's hard to think forward when we don't have any scheduled dates. It's hard to kind of like sink our teeth into a game plan. So right now we're just kind of focusing on making sure our bodies are jacked.
You guys don't appear to have an official tag team name yet, but I've heard a lot of people online saying it should be something like Prestigious Peacocks or something. But a team as charismatic as yours shouldn't just be relegated to Dalton Castle and Joe Hendry. You need like an actual name. Have you guys thought about an official team name?
Yeah, I've been sending them like drawings. I think we should go by a symbol like Prince did for a while instead of using actual, I don't know, verbiage. I thought that might separate us. I sent him this. I said, what if we're one of these? And he was like, a paper flower? And I was like, okay, I get it. You don't love the idea. So we're workshopping a lot of things.
I guess my last question for you is, assuming social distancing will be a thing of the past by then, first ROH show back, who's the first person you're going to give a big ol' hug to?
Oh, I'm going to kiss everybody on the mouth. Right? Because there'll be no rules. Social distancing over. Let's get as close as possible.
Oh, yeah. Oh, getting fresh with me here, Dalton.
It's tough. It's tough to decide on who. I miss everybody. Ring of Honor's, it's family to me. I spend way more time with them than I feel like I do at my house. So this is weird not seeing those people that I'm so close with as often as I'm used to.
It's going to be great when it finally does come back. And I'm looking forward to seeing you. Maybe let's not kiss, but we can have a nice Laurel and Hardy handshake when we meet once again in person. But Dalton, it's been great to have you here for this interview. Is there anything you'd like to plug before we wrap this up?
Well, yeah, Ring of Honor, ROHWrestling.com. They check out the Honor Club. They added a ton of new matches there. There's more content going up, especially without us giving you new matches. Go back and watch some of the old catalog. They have an episode coming up. I think it's May 16th. They're featuring whole episode of Dalton Castle. It's probably going to be the best episode of Ring of Honor television.
That's right.
Of all time.
I forgot to mention, it's actually going to be this episode. This interview will be airing just before your special episode airs. So good timing, good synergy.
Oh, right. All right. So yeah, this is it. Ring of Honor is peaking when my episode airs. So this will be great. You guys will see at the highest point of Ring of Honor TV when it's all about me. And I guess check out their YouTube channel too. They're putting a lot of stuff up there, trying to get as much stuff as possible out. And my YouTube channel. Have you watched my YouTube channel?
Yes, Planet Peacock. I've watched some of the vlogs and everything. I've seen.
You're in one of them, or a couple of them.
I know.
You're a star.
Did you find any arch enemies while you were there? Yeah? You hear me? Arch. Get it?
I think I found one right now.
And look around your local community. If there's local businesses that are struggling to stay open, try to help out and support them as much as you can. Order food from restaurants that are open, that are local, and be safe.
All right, well, Dalton, it's been great. It's been great fun talking to you today, and hope you're well.
Was it a lot of fun?
I'd say it was fun. I think so. I don't know. Maybe when I play it back, I'll have some tinges of regret. That's why this channel's called Wrestling with Regret, though, I guess. But Dalton, thanks so much for being here, and look forward to seeing you in person next time.
Hey, do you have to blur out this clip of Wilma because she's copywritten?